Welcome back to the channel, everybody. My name is Dadtronic, and today we're reviewing Resident Evil 1 Director's Cut. So, Resident Evil 1, what a classic, right?
You're all going to die down here.
No, not that Resident Evil 1. This Resident Evil 1.
No! Don't go!
Yeah! The year is 1996. Seinfeld and Friends was taking the world by storm. Bill Clinton was re-elected president. Gas was $1.23. Tickle Me Elmo was the big ticket Christmas gift that year. And I was 13 years old, still saying things like booyah, word, and psych, all of which I still happen to say pretty regularly. What a year! Not only was this the year survival horror became popular, but it brought zombies back into the psyche of American pop culture with the release of, you guessed it,
Resident Evil.
paving the way for
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Stop it!
No, not that. That paved the way for this. Resident Evil made it possible for us to go to
PP Pan City.
with the release of one of the greatest comics of all time. No, the other one. Yeah. So before we continue, thank you, Capcom. You truly made an impact on this world of ours with this franchise. And that's where it all starts, isn't it? Capcom. The company responsible for Mega Man, known in Japan as Rockman, Street Fighter, Devil May Cry, probably most relevant to Resident Evil, Dead Rising, and my personal favorite, Marvel vs. Capcom. But did you know Resident Evil all started with a game on the Nintendo called Sweet Home? That's right, the NES 1989, a turn-based RPG that finds its way to the top of the best horror game lists the internet over. What is Sweet Home? Well, originally it was this sick Japanese horror movie also known as The Mamiya House, directed by Kiyoshi Kurosawa. No relation to Kira Kurosawa. So Sweet Home is a 1989 Japanese horror flick that supposedly bears a lot of similarities to another experimental Japanese horror flick, this one a comedy called House. No, not that house. This house. I have never seen either of these movies, but I plan to as they appear to be quite a hoot. So Sweet Home is basically about a small film crew that visits an old abandoned mansion of a famous artist, Ichiro Mamiya, who left all of his paintings behind in this world when he left for the other. The team wants to both restore the paintings and film a documentary about the process, but once they enter the mansion, it all goes wrong, as you'd expect. The house turns into a real Luigi's Mansion scenario, but it's super dark with themes of poltergeists and possessions, all sparked off by, spoilers, a terrible tragedy involving a child being incinerated. His mother, Lady Mamiya's ghost, haunts the mansion, killing anyone stupid enough to investigate. At the end, the mansion begins to collapse, and you can imagine the rest. So Capcom adapts this and makes the bold move of making a video game in the 80s based on a movie, and it's actually good. Take that, LJN. And I understand the game is even better than the movie. So Takuro Fujiwara wanted to remake Sweet Home. Development was led by Shinji Mikami. It went through tons of redesigns, including one for the Super Nintendo, later scrapped for the version we all love, in all of its 3D glory for the PlayStation. Originally intended to be first-person, oof. And finally, the third-person game we all know. This game offered it all for its time. Action, monsters, fairly easy puzzle solving, and most important for the franchise, at least for a while, inventory and save management. This game used techniques pioneered just a couple years before by Alone in the Dark, with use of 3D models superimposed over pre-rendered backgrounds. Amazing. At the time, Resident Evil was praised for its graphics. We really thought it looked great, and it did, in 1996. It was also noted then for its gameplay, and its sound and atmosphere. However, everybody goofed on it for its voice acting.
Jill, so you're safe.
That's what I was going to say.
Where on earth have you been? You disappeared from the hall all of a sudden.
Regardless, it was a hit, an international bestseller, and without doubt one of the most influential games of its time. Spinning off into films, comics, original novels, and much, much more. It's been ported and remade more times than I care to list here. The story, if you aren't familiar, is basic. There's a zombie apocalypse happening, and it's all Wesker's fault. You play as Jill or Chris, Chris being the more difficult because of a smaller inventory, but this difficulty really revolves around extra running around as a result, and was one of the most loathed features by yours truly. Chris even takes more damage, so the inventory just ends up being more of a pain in the ass than anything. You want a harder game? Just play on Advanced. And I do recommend playing as both Chris and Jill if you want to see Rebecca's story, along with other various small changes in how everything goes down. The story starts with a series of murders in Raccoon City, a fictional Midwest town that gives this Midwestern boy the ookie bookies. The STARS team is assigned to investigate a helicopter crash, and the team is ambushed by zombie puppers. And Brad, piloting the team helicopter, abandons them like a little bitch. The remaining members of the team,
Chris Redfield, Jill Valentine, Mary Burton, Rebecca Chambers, Albert Wesker,
seek refuge in the nearby abandoned mansion. Depending on who you choose, Chris or Jill, either Barry or Chris are separated from the rest of the team, and most of the gameplay revolves around trying to find them while uncovering the bad deeds of a one Albert Wesker. Not to mention Umbrella Corporation itself. The mansion, brimming with monsters, is all the result of the T-virus, or the Tyrant virus, a highly contagious virus that turns people into zombie-like creatures. Of course, in the end, Wesker telegraphs everything like a good villain should, and let's be honest, probably one of the greatest villains in gaming. File his ass right next to Officer Tenpenny and Bowser. But none of Wesker's villainy compares to beholding a tyrant. No, not those tyrants. So Wesker bites it. And we kill Tyrant. Or so we think. Apparently this game has multi-endings. The endings are based on some key actions over the course of the game and regards if you saved your partner or not. Becky for Chris, Barry for Jill, as well as the imprisoned member in the lab. Chris for Jill's campaign and vice versa. If your partner survives, Tyrant is defeated. If your partner doesn't survive, the mansion is not destroyed and Tyrant remains. And your partner is permadead. And that's the game. We fly away to safety and everything is good. So with so many puzzles and monsters to fight, there really is rarely a dull moment. So that's everything I got for you here today. My review, I loved it. I loved it then, and I love it now. While very different from later installments, the purity of the franchise is found within the depths of this game's very soul. With plenty of jump scares for noobs and old men who haven't played the game in 20 years, Resident Evil is still one of the greatest games of its time. Is it pretty? Nah, but there's often nothing pretty about horror. Underneath all those chunky character models, the hard to get used to directional mechanics, and some of the ill thought out conventions of the early series, like earning your saves, it's a gem. A true masterpiece of the genre, and a pioneer of everything to come. An impact that rivals that of George Romero and Robert Kirkman. Resident Evil 1 is a timeless classic. One that, in my opinion, on the whole, still holds up to this day, 25 plus years later. Truly a must-play B-movie classic. And that's why I give it my official rating of, it's still good. Well, everybody, you made it to the end of the video. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and ding that bell for more reviews just like this one. My name is Dadtronic. Thanks for watching. You guys, be good.